Hey guys, a very common question I see among beginners but also a little more advanced players is I see the puzzles when I'm doing tactics training, but how do I realize there's a tactic in my game? In this video I'm going to solve puzzles but putting emphasis on how to realize there is a tactic in some specific position from your own games. When you finish the video you will be able not only to solve the puzzle but also to identify them when you're playing. Keep watching. So let's start. Here we have the first position where it is black to move. Let's analyze what is going on the board. Let's see what we are attacking here. For example, we're attacking the bishop. He's defending the bishop. We're attacking the bishop on e5 twice with the bishop and the queen. He's defending twice. And I think that's it. Also we're attacking the knight on f3. He's defending the knight on f3 with the pawn. So those are like the main ideas. Those are the main things we're attacking. We're attacking something, he's defending something. That's a weakness. That's something we need to get used to think about in our games. So here, for example, there is this nice idea. One of the defenders of the bishop can be removed more or less easily. We can capture that knight here on f3, and it's going to be a problem because when he recaptures, then we are attacking twice the bishop. That's an idea. So that's going to be the right move here. Also, when we capture, he can capture our bishop, but we will see that it's going to be winning anyway, because then when our queen recaptures, we will be attacking this bishop twice. So let's see it on the board. So we capture here. If they take the bishop on d6, we need to capture because our queen is hanging this time. And when he takes the bishop, then we can take the bishop on d3, because after all these trades, we're attacking twice the bishop on d3. This time it is black to move. And let's see. In this position there is something very interesting, and it is these two pieces. They are very exposed there, and this is a pattern that you will get used to it. So when you're playing your games, we need to get used to think of threats the same way we need to get used to think of checks. So all the time, in every move, we need to look at our checks, we need to look at our threats. That's something we get used to, because we will notice it's strong. We will notice we get advantage very often when we work with threats. So here the idea is that this is a pattern, and with a pawn we can attack both of them with a fork. So we can play here e4, and then we'll be attacking knight and bishop at the same time. I don't think white can escape from this double attack. For example, they can remove the knight, we capture, but then also when we capture we'll be attacking the rook. So I don't think we will have any problem there to get advantage. So I will play that e4. He can trade here first. Also there's a fork over here, so we could take, but then he's also taking more pieces over here. So I think it's going to be very smart if we just capture here. We can capture with bishop, we can capture with knight, but if we capture with the knight, the pawn is unprotected. So we should capture with the bishop this time. And then, well, once the bishop goes back, then we can just capture the knight on f3. Black to move here, and let's analyze the position. We are attacking the rook. That makes the rook a dependent piece. That makes the queen a defender, which is at the same time a weakness. So we can say this is like a weakness in this position maybe, but also there is like a weakness here with the king, because you know we have like some pressure over there, and also our queen is, we could say, in an interesting position. So a very interesting way to get the solution in one of our games is just working with checks. So if every time we are playing, we need to be thinking of checks. That's like something we need to get used to. So if you're doing that, you will find that the move queen f1, even when it seems to be at first sight a bad idea because we are just losing the queen, then we can remember that we have the rook here, so we can capture it, and it's going to be checkmate. So let's play it. Queen f1. This is just checkmate in 2 moves. Again, the way to find something like this is when you're working with checks, you will find combinations like this one. So we need to get used to work with checks all the time. Okay, black to move here, and here we have more or less the same idea. Getting used to work with checks. If we do that, we might be able to find the right move in this position. Also, in this position there are other things we need to highlight. For example, the bishop is on the same line as the king. That's always something. That's always something we need to think about. So yeah, the way to win here is just m18-1. We capture here, and they cannot recapture because of the pin of the bishop we were saying. Again, this is a pattern, something you will get when you see many positions like this, then you will identify it in your own games. Okay, we are playing as white here. I'm not going to talk too much about this. This is a pattern. Your king is in front of his king. When you work with checks, you will see you have checkmate in one, so I'm not going to delay too much in this one. White to move here, let's analyze the position. Let's try to find weaknesses or problems in black's position, which is not so easy because all black pieces are more or less protected, except, well, the two rooks, but we are not really attacking them. However, the two rooks are both on the same diagonal. That's a problem. When you see two pieces lined up, that means something. That might be a tactics. We have skewers, we have pins, we have double attacks with two pieces on the same line very often. So the right move this time is going to be, we have the bishop, it's going to be bishop d6. The way to identify the move bishop d6 is just finding the signal, which is the two pieces on the same line. That's a signal. So whenever you're playing, there are two pieces on the same line, that's like, okay, I need to think of this because there might be something here. So bishop d6, the rook moves, and of course we capture the other rook. White to move here, let's analyze this position. The first, or one of the first things we need to do is to find checks and work with them. And if you do that in your own games, you can find things like this. In this position, the right move is going to be queen g6 check. The only move for black is going to be king e7, and then we will have checkmate in one using the knight going to d5. So I'm just going to play it. This is a checkmate in two moves. Working with checks, getting used to do that is going to help you to find things like this in your own game. So queen check, knight d5, we keep going. White to move here, let's analyze this. I see an unprotected bishop over here, that's a problem for black. Also, I see two pieces lined up on the same line. That probably means something here. In fact, it does. So whenever you see something like this in your own games, that's a reason to make a pause and try to find tactics. As we said, skewers, forks, pins. This time the move rook c1, very well protected by bishop, also by queen, is going to be getting material up because we are attacking the queen, and when the queen moves we will be able to capture the rook also with check. So let's play that. Rook c1, he takes the bishop, we take the rook with check. Black to move here, and let's take a look at the position. It doesn't really look like white has many problems. However, when we analyze a little more carefully, we can find a small but important problem in white's position, and it is this queen on the same line as our bishop. That's a problem. That's like a weakness. That's like a signal telling us, hey, think a little here because there might be a tactic. And in fact, there is. In this position, we can move the pawn, discovering the bishop, attacking that queen, and at the same time, we will be attacking the bishop on c4. It's going to be a discovered attack. So I will play it, d5. There is a check, but it's not going to be a big deal. We can just block with the pawn and attack the queen at the same time. So the queen moves, and then finally we can capture the bishop. Okay, white to move. We need to work always with checks. We have said that before. You need to get used to work with checks as long as you have in the position you are analyzing in your own game, maybe. So in this position, a move we need to analyze very seriously is queen h8. Another move we need to analyze is rook d8. In this case, queen h8 is going to be very strong because when the king comes to e7, we will have checkmate in one by playing queen d8. I'm not going to delay this much more. Work with checks and you will find a lot of things like this in your own games. Black to move this time, and let's find weaknesses or problems, or also let's work with checks because a very big problem for white here is the king. So I'm looking at one very interesting check. I mean, we have check with queen, check with bishop, but I think the check with bishop is the first one I want to analyze, since I'm involving new pieces on the attack. So yeah, bishop f1. What is my opponent playing in a position like this? Well, bishop f1 is almost checkmate. The only move is blocking with the queen, and then we capture the queen. So yeah, I will play this, and then I will capture here. That's checkmate in 2 moves. Black to move here, and well, let's analyze this. Here there's a rook hanging on f7, right? So that's like the main weakness we need to work with here. So let's take a look at this, because once I capture the rook, my opponent can work with checks and play bishop here, but well, I have to block. It's the only move. But I have a rook up. Even if he captures the rook, I capture a bishop, and I'm still a bishop or a minor piece up. So I don't see why not this move. However, let's analyze. So knight takes rook, bishop check, rook d7. There's a question here. What if he doesn't capture our rook? What if he increases the pressure on the pin? So for example, white could try rook d1, putting more pressure there, but then we can defend with the rook. So I think once we defend with the rook, we are going to be totally fine, because we are defending twice, he's attacking twice, he doesn't have a way to increase the pressure further. So yeah, I think this is going to be the way to win. Yeah, we block and we defend. We are fine. Black to move here, let's find problems and let's work with checks. The main problem I can find in this position is the king is very open. We are controlling the squares next to the king. That's always good. So let's work with checks. That's something we need to do in our games. So I'm thinking of the most interesting check, queen e3. There are more moves like rook h1, but I really don't want to sacrifice the rook so right now. So well, queen e3 looks a little better, not sacrificing, also bringing more pieces to the attack. So queen e3 check, there is only one move for white, and it is king f1, and then we have checkmate with the rook. I'm going to play that on the board so you can see it, but because that's just a checkmate in 2 moves. White to move here, let's find weaknesses or problems in black's position. Well, everything seems to be very well protected except the queen on c3, which at the same time is on the same line as our own queen. This is a weakness. This is like a signal telling us, hey, you try to find some tactics, there might be something here. And the idea here is that if we move the knight and we can attack something really valuable, we are going to be creating a problem, because we will be attacking the queen and the other valuable thing. When we work with checks, we can find the move knight f5 here. It's a discovered attack, and then we're getting the queen on c3. White to move this time, and one more time, the main problem we can find in black's position is the queen on the same line as our own queen. That's a problem. We can take advantage of that by moving the bishop and giving a check, because right now the king is in a dark square. So bishop f4 is discovered check, and even if he captures or moves whatever he plays, we'll be taking the queen. So bishop f4, and then this is a queen almost for free. Okay, black to move. Let's find problems. This time we're attacking the bishop. He's defending the bishop. That makes the bishop a dependent piece and the queen a defender in this position. Also, we can find other problems, like the queen one more time on the same line as one of our pieces, the bishop. So there might be some discovered idea here, as we have seen in previous puzzles. The right move this time is d5, attacking bishop, also attacking the queen. I don't think white can do anything to get rid of the 2 threats at the same time. Okay, white to move here. Let's find weaknesses. For example, we're attacking this bishop here. He's defending. That makes the bishop a dependent piece, and that makes the king a defender, which is also a weakness in this position. The rook is unprotected. Probably doesn't mean that much, but is unprotected. So, well, I don't think there's anything else. Well, the bishop also unprotected. Yeah, That's probably very important here. So I don't think there are more big problems in this position for black, so I think this is a good moment to work with checks. So we have rook d8, which is not really a good move. We just lose the bishop, not getting too much, clearly. And the other check we need to analyze is bishop takes bishop, but after king takes bishop, do we have a way to continue there? I think we have. We can play them rook d7. This is a pattern. The king and the bishop are both on the same line in that position. So we will be able to play a fork with rook d7 check. So I'm going to play it on the board. Bishop takes, bringing the king to the same line as the other bishop, and then rook d7 forking and getting a piece up here. Black to move. Let's find problems in white's position. Well, the king is not really looking very safe. We are attacking things over there. And there is a check, this queen takes pawn. We need to analyze very seriously, because then we are discovering the king, we're bringing the queen to the attack. After the king moves, we will have queen takes pawn protected by the rook, and it's going to be checkmate. I'm just going to play it. I don't think there is anything else we need to say about this. Black to move here. Let's see how to get advantage in this position. This rook is unprotected, and we need to work with checks. That's something we have said during the whole video. So there is this move, queen e3 is check, but also is attacking the rook. This is also a pattern, something we see many times, and then it's easier for us when it happens in the games. So yeah, check, and then we capture. We don't capture the queen, it's protected by the king, it's just a trade. We capture the rook, which is way better. White to move here. The king is a little discovered, and we need to work with checks one more time. So rook e8 check, and the only move is rook here, and then this diagonal is going to be very weak. So we can play them some check over there, like queen f6. So I'm going to play that because that's just checkmate in 2 moves. As you can see, the power of checks is very big. So work with checks always in your games. In this position, it is white to move. And well, this one seems to be a little more complicated. Let's analyze it. Here we're attacking, he's defending. That's like a weakness in black's position. Also, we're attacking twice, he's defending twice. So it seems like it's more or less fine, but it's like a weakness at the same time. And here we have the queen on the same line as his queen, but it is protected by the rook, which, by the way, was also protecting the other weakness we are attacking, f7. That means this rook, we could say, is a little like overloaded. It's defending f7, but at the same time it's defending d8. So that means something here. Maybe when we work with checks, we can take a look at this move, rook takes pawn, because then he will have to recapture with his rook, and then who's going to be protecting the queen? No one, right? So yeah, that's the right idea. Rook takes pawn, deflecting the rook, taking advantage of the overloaded piece on f8, and well, then we can capture the queen on d8. So rook takes pawn, queen takes queen. White to move here. Let's analyze this. In this position, we're attacking the rook on e8 twice. However, he's defending twice too, and we're attacking the bishop on d7, but he's defending on d7. So let's see, those are like the main problems black has here. Something interesting is that this rook on d8 is the common defender for both pieces. It's the defender for this bishop, and it's one of the defenders for this rook. That makes that rook on d8 a little like overloaded. It's doing 2 jobs at the same time. So probably something we need to analyze here. First of all, we need to work with the check. Rook takes rook, that's a check, but I don't think we get too much with that. It's just trading pieces. So another kind of moves we need to work with are the captures. These moves are forcing our opponent, so maybe that means something here. So let's analyze the capture. Rook takes bishop, and then our opponent will have 2 main options. They can capture this rook, but then we can capture the other rook on e8, which is going to be unprotected since we've removed one defender and we deflected the other defender. Or after rook takes bishop, they can also capture our rook first, so they don't lose it, but we can also do something in between. We don't have to capture here immediately, we can say I don't want to lose this rook, so I take here on d8 first, and then I will be able to capture the other rook. So it seems like either way the move rook takes bishop is going to get material up for white. And then we said we capture here. Black to move in this one. Let's see how we can fix this situation. White is about to promote a pawn, so it seems like this is really tough for black here. White is getting a queen very soon. However, also something we need to look at always is checkmate threats. Every time you can create a checkmate position is something we need to analyze very seriously. And here there's a pattern, a common checkmate pattern with 2 pawns we can create here. When we play the move king g3, then we have this idea of giving checkmate with the 2 pawns over there. This is going to be a mating net. There is no way for white to get out of this situation, so it's just winning the game. So I will play it king g3 and then ace2 checkmate. The question for today: after watching this video, do you feel better identifying tactics when they happen in your own games? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next.